Alright guys, sorry I have to be a bit quiet because my housemates are asleep, but let's get into demo 3. So first of all, we want to set up as per usual. So shuffle the intelligent behavior deck, the vacuous behavior deck, the lock deck, paraphernalia deck, key deck, thought deck, and personal decks. I'm playing two-handed one player, so I only need to focus on these two characters here. The other ones I'll be deleting. Press L to unfreeze here, like that. Alright, and like I said, I'm playing one player two-handed, so I'm going to delete the other decks here. Pull the top card off because it's useless, and put this deck over here. Perfect. So a new thing to introduce right off the bat, another thing to set up is hope. So hope comes in the form of insight, paraphernalia, and house keys. It's the hope for finding those things or for personal development. And like this displays here, this is the setup for one person. Obviously the minimum is 2, and we're playing 2, like single player two-handed. So I'm going to double these. You'll need 4 insight, 2 paraphernalia, and 2 house keys. So let's get stuck into it. I'm pretty sure I reshuffled it, but I'm going to do it again just in case. And play for my turn. So for those who don't know the basics, I'm going to be drawing cards for the amount of health I have. So I'm going to draw 4 right here. And for the amount of max health, if you take a wound that reduces your body, you still draw 4. Yep, so right off the bat, got 4 cards. 1 I can't use because it's a reaction. You can only play this in reaction to getting attacked or getting injured, quote unquote. So, but we can still use it for its alternate action, which all cards have, which is to discard it for 1 movement or to open or close 1 door. So I'm going to discard 2 cards here to do that. Because I have 2 mind, I get to play 2 cards, either for their action or the aforementioned action I mentioned, which is movement or opening and closing doors. Since I've discarded 2, we're going to be taking 2 of those actions here. So let's open this door and move into a empty space. So draw your card for that empty space, move on to it. And because we're going to enter an empty space, we're going to be looking at the top deck from the eyesight deck. Luckily it's empty. So now I'm going to be moving on to Imran's turn here. Draw 4 cards. Alright, 2 disoriented. I'm going to get rid of them first, although it particularly matters. Now we're doing the same thing here. So 1 and onto the next room. Boom. Nothing under. End table, you gain 2 plus mine for the turn. So I'm going to get to play another 2 here. I'm probably only going to put I'll play 2. We'll go bold. And for discarding those 2, I get to again open the door and move on. Remember guys, when you're placing these tiles here, that the arrow, when it's faced like this, always has to be pointing away from the living room. So, as such. Right, and because everyone is moving into this new room, we pull another eyesight card. Right, so Thin Hall, remove 2 tokens from the hope pool at random. That's pretty rough. Maybe stacking all these. Oh, actually I'm just going to take 2 random. So 1 insight, 1 house key. Just give me my random 2. And a dog has spawned. So how spawning works, grab this dog, put the number 1 enemy token on him, signifying that he goes first, even though it doesn't matter because there's no others. And we're going to grab a dog here. So I'm going to grab this one. Perfect. And because Imran's turn is now over, dog gets his action. So something you want to keep in mind, it's not relevant for this specific thing. Oh, well it is. Look, let's just do it. So how much mind does the dog have? 2. that means it draws 2 reaction tokens until the start of its next turn, as seen in how to play and flow of gameplay. At the start of every turn, an enemy will discard all its reactions, but it's an important thing to set up, just in case you still have attacks or you still have, in case it's not immediately going to have its turn. But because its turn is starting, we're going to delete all reactions it has, and we're going to start its behavior. Again, it has 2 might, so what we're going to do is we're going to draw 2 cards for it. And we're going to drag these over here for ease of access. 1. So, based on these keywords here, which I'm familiar with, the first thing it's going to do is injure, I believe, because Slink only works if it's the last action. So injure is the highest possible, or the first possible action in this run is injure. So it's going to injure Amon for 1 bleeding, based on its little injure icon there. So we're going to take a wound and we're going to put on Amon. For its second action, it slinks. So hide isn't available. Hide something it does if it has wounds. Slink is what it's going to do because it is the last action and it's on the same space as Iman here. So it's going to move towards the hallway 1. And that's the end of reactions. So, and I'm going to do a couple more rounds here just to show you guys. So let's have a look. At the start of every turn, discard all cards in your hand that aren't mindsets. If we find a mindset later, I'll show you. Mindsets have a circle in the top left mouth there instead of that star, for example. And mindsets can only be cycled or discarded by doing it intentionally to open a door or move. So mindsets will keep in your hand and apply their effects passively. You don't have to play them. Right, so let's draw 4 more. Something to note here, we've got 2 of a special type of card. So that left icon there, top left, the little exclamation mark, that means impulse. Impulses happen immediately and for no mind cost. But they have to happen immediately. But if you draw multiple, you get to choose which to play first. It's irrelevant for this case because they're both the same. But what they do, gain 1 hope. So we're going to play both of those. Should really play them one at a time, but I know, I know they're both safe to play now. It's not going to impact the sort of way we play them. I'm going to take 1 insight and 1 paraphernalia here. And I'm going to keep those. This is going to be important for later. So what we're going to do is probably actually stay in our position, really. The dog, if Iman presses, for this strategy, if Iman presses, which I'll try to do to kill the dog, it might likely slink back towards this character, and then I can sort of gain on it next turn. So I'm just going to stay my hand. And it is Iman's turn. Let's draw 4 and see what we get. 1 prey. Take a paraphernalia. 2 dodges. Quite lucky, but like I said, I'm going to corral it, and we're pretty safe because of the dodges. So move 1 back here, and now there's the dog's turn, so I'm going to pass. See what it does. First available, injure. But because we've got that, sorry, I'll just change back to a mine. Because we've got this dodge, ignore 1 injure, which applies before the injure is applied, as all reactions are. We're going to discard this for no mana cost, remember, and cancel that effect entirely. And for its second, here, does the same thing. Injures again. So, luckily, we have our 2 dodges. So that's perfectly done. And now it's Bastion's turn again. I'm going to discard these 2 cards. I'm going to draw 2. And because our deck is empty here, we're going to take our discard, like all other games really, move it to our deck, shuffle it. That becomes our new deck. And we're going to draw 2 more. Very unlucky hand really, nothing to do about it. So I'm going to actually move up here and open this tool for future reference. Oh. Cool. And then it is Iman's turn again. Cool. Got some attacks here. So, pray. And we're going to attack twice. Let's put those in our discard to clean up a bit. And that's going to be really simple, guys. That's just going to be 2 injures. Because we're unarmed, it says injure bleeding. So the injures apply bleeding. And that's it. I actually prefer to put this little 2x token on it. It's a bit visually cleaner. Some people also prefer to just put this instead of bleeding because it's a simple -1 body. So do what you will. Alright, cool. And now it's the dog's turn. So let's see what it does. Hide. So this one's actually going to prot here. Because if have 2 or more wounds, move 2 spaces towards the living room. Because the dog has +1 space to all movement actions, which I might have neglected earlier, it's actually going to move, well it can only move a max of 2 anyway. So it's going to move the whole way there. It might try and lick its wounds out of LOS, which is something that vacuous enemies tend to do. They'll try and hide from you, regain their strength, and come back for more. And I imagine that is all. Let's have a look. So his second one is Rush and Hunt. I believe those aren't applicable. Vanilla Western target is Space Force target and Hunt. Yeah, so Rush doesn't apply because we're together. Hunt doesn't apply either because the enemy has to have less than 2 wounds to use it. So it's just going to stay there waiting. Alright, and back to my turn. So something we're going to do importantly here is put 2 praise, which is actually perfect for the next step we're about to approach here. So I'm going to take 1 insight and 1 house key. This applies 2 things at once, which is going to be fear. So the fear, because all hope has been lost, fear card now prots. The house is silent. This has no instructive text, so nothing happens. It's a bit of a warning, really, for what's to come. Let's reapply these for insight for 2 players. Oh, over the top. 2 house keys and 2 paraphernalia. And what I'm going to do with my turn here is I'm going to discard one of these to move into a room event. So because this door is halfway down the card here, lengthwise, this means I'm entering a room. So we're going to set up a room here from a little room deck here. And I'm going to roll the 3 die when I enter it. I've rolled a 3. So we're going to reference the event book here. The event book says for 3 rolls, P5. So let's go to P5 here. Spawn a random common enemy and exchange all hope. So first of all, we're going to spawn that random common enemy. Although it can really go either way. I might specify that further in the future. So let's just shuffle this once. Right, it's a dog. So let's take the second dog here. Place it in the room with me. And remember to shuffle down all order tokens. So this newest dog has the highest order, and this old dog has the second order. So now I get to exchange all hope, which is all the hope I've collected over these couple of turns. So I've got 2 insight, 2 paraphernalia, and 1 key. So what we can do with the key first is I'm going to delete it just for simpleness, and I get to draw 1 key here. So this, if we ever get to the final room, when you are drawing cards, when you get to the final room, once per turn for 1 mind, you'll get to draw a lock from this lock deck. And if, by chance, this lock matches the number of a key you have, you will escape Bubba's house. The more keys you find, the more likely you will be to get out. Alright, onto the second bit, paraphernalia. So let's exchange that and draw 1 paraphernalia here. Biscuit tin, -1 fear, means if we ever get our fear increased by the fear deck on this track here, this will be able to reduce it effectively. What this fear track does for future reference, I mean, there's a couple of things I'm omitting just because I'm trying to make this tutorial a bit of a shorter one just to get you introduced, but you will have to read the rulebook ultimately and fill in the gaps. If your fear gets increased, essentially my room roll will be modified by that. So if I rolled a 3 and I had a 1+, I'd have to look for the 4th, the 4 reference in the event book there, and that's going to naturally be more dangerous up until a potential 6, which is really devastating, really fearsome enemy, essentially, in order to exchange your hope. Anyway, that's our paraphernalia, and we've got 2 insight here. So what we can do with insight is access the collective consciousness. So for 1 insight each, we can replace all below, gain 1 below, or remove 1 thought. So one part of setup I actually forgot to do was to lay out thoughts in the collective consciousness. It starts with 3. So some interesting cards actually. Resolve twice, move 1 space, or open close 1 door. This is immediate. That's actually quite good because you don't have to spend mind and you're immediately sort of moving. That's actually a very good card. It's like less controllable, but it's very cool. Discarding does not cost mind, which is beautiful, and it's a mindset. And rush. The enemy has no wounds in each times 2. I'm actually going to go scramble here. Adapted is very good, but I feel like it's more of a late game boon. So I'm going to spend 1 insight to get scramble, and I'm going to add it to my deck there, or my discard specifically. And I'm actually going to also grab adapted, to be honest with you. So I'm going to spend both my insights on grabbing 1 card from each. So I essentially triggered gain 1 below twice. That's what I did with those 2 insight. And look guys, we've come to the end of our tutorial there. Hopefully that's a good enough insight into how to play the game basically. And the rest of the rulebook should show you the way. It's pretty straightforward. I tried to make it as intuitive as possible, but I haven't got my Wacom tablet, which is how I draw everything and sort of like architect everything. So I'll be able to make better illustrations then. But have a look through the rulebook if anything's unclear, and obviously ask me in Discord if anything's unclear. Thanks so much for watching.